This MOU is to cooperate on establishing and developing a diversified relationship in the field of transport and logistic development. A warm clap for them as they exchange the documents. The next MOU to be signed is on cooperation between the Kenya Bureau of Standards Uganda and Kenya Bureau of Standards Kenya. The next MOU to be signed is on cooperation between the Kenya Bureau of Standards. Estangari is the managing director, Kenya Bureau of Standards. Estangari is the managing director, Kenya Bureau of Standards. Executive Director, Uganda National Bureau of Standards. Executive Director, Uganda National Bureau of Standards. The MOU is on cooperation between the Kenya Bureau of Standards and the Uganda Bureau of Standards. This is to provide a framework for exchange of scientific and technical knowledge, leading to building scientific and technical capabilities of KEBS and UNBS. A clap for them as they exchange. The next MOU to be signed is on investment promotion. Allow me to now invite John Mwendwa and Mr. Robert Mukiza. Mr. John Mwendwa is the Chief Executive Officer of Kenya Investment Authority, and Mr. Robert Mukiza is Director General, Uganda Investment Authority. The MOU is on investment promotion, and this is to provide a framework for the parties to establish closer cooperation for the mutual benefit to strengthen economic, technological, and investment relations between the two institutions. A clap for them as they exchange the document. And that brings us to the end of the signing ceremony of the Memoranda of Understanding. After this, we will now have a joint press statement by the two heads of state. And at this point, we will clear the desk and also bring the podiums. And at this point, allow me to invite the two heads of state to make a joint press statement. Welcome, Your Excellencies.
Your Excellency, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, President of the Republic of Uganda, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to welcome His Excellency President Yoweri Museveni and his delegation to Kenya for this official visit. This occasion reflects the strength and historical partnership between our two nations, anchored in common ideals, deep respect, and shared ambition for regional stability and progress. Kenya and Uganda are joined together not only by geographical proximity, but also by a long-standing spirit of brotherhood and mutual support within the East African community. My deliberations with President Museveni spanned an extensive range of bilateral, regional, and continental priorities. We reaffirm our united stance on closer collaboration in key sectors such as infrastructure, trade, energy, security, and regional integration. Our cooperation in these areas aims to catalyze economic development, foster people-to-people ties, and ensure that our engagements translate into tangible benefits for the peoples of our two countries. We are united in our commitment to deepening bilateral cooperation and delivering shared prosperity for our citizens, while also working together towards a stronger and more integrated region. I am pleased to announce the signing, as we've just witnessed, of 8 additional bilateral memoranda of understanding, building on the 17 agreements already in place. These new MOUs will foster and further strengthen our legal and institutional cooperation across strategic sectors that include, as we have witnessed, the MOU on mining, a joint promotion exercise that will be responsible for mineral exploitation, institutional capacity building, and address cross-border smuggling of minerals. The MOU on transport and logistics is aimed at modernizing transport systems and enhancing mobility for people and goods between our two countries. It now gives us an opportunity, as I have briefed President Museveni, on the transport corridor between Kenya and Uganda and the greater East African region into DRC and CAR. I have informed His Excellency the President of our commitment and conclusion on negotiations between partners and the Republic of Kenya on the extension of the railway from Naivasha to Kisumu and finally to Malaba to join the railway that will now go into Uganda and into the DRC. And that we intend, with all programs being in place, to begin that program before the end of this year. I have also briefed His Excellency the President of the commencement of the extension of the dualling of the road from Nairobi to Nakuru to Mau Summit and eventually to Malaba, again to ease transport and logistics between our two countries and also into the East African region. The MOU we have just signed provides a robust framework for that engagement to happen. The MOU on standards and quality assurance is to strengthen the collaboration between our two bureaus of standards, again to enhance trade and to eliminate illicit, substandard, and contraband goods finding their way into our markets. The MOU on agriculture and animal husbandry will expand our cooperation in both veterinary and crop health, innovation, and of course to foster food security in our region. The MOU on fisheries and aquaculture will focus on the management and the joint capacity building of the resources that we have in the space in our waters, both in Kenya and Uganda, and to see how we can leverage the opportunities that are in the blue economy, not just to expand our economies, but also to build on our food security requirements. The MOU on the support of sustainable urban development of the Greater Busia Metro Project, which will be undertaken between this year and 2028, will seek to facilitate the implementation of joint programs on infrastructure and other development projects in Busia I'm happy that the governor of Busia County from Kenya is in our midst, and he has come to make sure that we don't forget that this is an important project, because the metro of Busia is a shared city, both between Kenya and Uganda. We have Busia on the Kenyan side, and we also have Busia on the Ugandan side, and we have communities that speak the same language on both sides. And this will give us the opportunity to do the expanded market, which is an East African initiative to create the transport corridor and infrastructure for the one border post to facilitate easier movement of goods and services into and out of Uganda, to the port of Mombasa and to the East African region on the other side. The MOU on tourism is to promote a joint destination and marketing, cultural exchange, and ecotourism. Emormor will now find it much more easy to find his way into Kenya. As you are aware, Mr. President, we have the Teso King, who some Kenyans owe allegiance to him, so sometimes they find their way to Uganda. Somehow he stays in Uganda. Maybe we'll also find some residence for him in Kenya. But part of it is the whole building, the whole system of cultural tourism between our two regions. And just to confirm to you, Mr. President, I have appointed a special envoy for the Atekeri people, which span all the way from the Teso of Uganda and Kenya, the Karamojong, the Turkana, the Pokot, all the way to the people of South Sudan and that region, just to leverage on the culture and tradition and tourism of the communities that live there. Your Excellency, I also appreciate in our consultations that shortly we will be signing the agreement on sharing of resources between the Karamojong and the Turkana communities in northern part of Kenya and Uganda. That will again facilitate greater harmony between the communities living in that area. And on behalf of the people and government of Kenya, and on behalf of the people of Turkana County, to sincerely appreciate your consideration of some of our Kenyans incarcerated in Uganda, that we will shortly be having a conversation on how this can be resolved, both at the government level and at a cultural level. And we look forward to the signing of the agreement on resource sharing that will facilitate these communities to share the resources of water, pasture, and other resources in that region in a manner that is mutually beneficial to the people of our two countries, and that promotes greater harmony between the communities there. And these agreements also signify our joint resolve to turn our cooperation into practical results that will directly uplift the lives of both our peoples. We also acknowledged the ongoing negotiations on other important instruments, as I have said, notably the cross-border resource sharing agreement, which we hope to finalize this year. We reiterated the value of the Joint Ministerial Commission as a crucial vehicle for driving our bilateral agenda forward, following the successful second Joint Ministerial Meeting session held in Kampala in May 2024, and our technical teams who have continued working closely to actualize the outcomes that we agreed upon. Your Excellency, I must also commend you and the government of Uganda for facilitating greater understanding of the communities around the Little Rock in Migingo, and the conversation that we have had on how we should bring greater harmony and greater understanding of the communities there, and how we can facilitate the joint sharing of resources. And the MOU that has been signed here on fisheries will also facilitate the use and sharing of the resources in the blue economy in a manner that does not create acrimony, but promotes harmony between the peoples of that region. Kenya is scheduled to host the midterm review of the second joint ministerial conference from the 11th to the 13th of August here in Nairobi this year. At the principal and permanent secretary level, this will be an important platform to evaluate the implementation and progress, and to set new priorities for the next phase of engagement. On trade, we reiterated concerns over persistent non-tariff barriers that hinder the flow of goods and frustrate the objectives of our region and the integration exercise that is underway in the East African Community Framework. We emphasize the need for a principled, practical, and time-bound resolution of these barriers, given their direct impact on livelihoods, especially for farmers and traders. The forthcoming Joint Ministerial Conference midterm review and the Joint Trade Committee meeting in October 2025 will be crucial in ensuring that there are positive outcomes on all these fronts. We also committed ourselves to strengthening regional institutions and furthering the objectives of the East African community, including progress under the customs union, common markets, monetary union, and ultimately a political federation. I shared my view and that of the people of Kenya, and the shared view between the peoples of our two countries on a fast tracking of the East African community steps towards a political federation that will bring synergy between the peoples of our two countries and the East African community in general. The East African community continues to demonstrate its potential as a good model of effective regional integration. We emphasize the centrality of unity, economic convergence, and shared prosperity as guiding principles for deeper integration. President Museveni and I also held constructive discussions on regional peace and stability, and we reaffirmed our position that security is essential to sustainable development and commended ongoing regional peace-building initiatives. We further agreed to collaborate closely in conflict resolution efforts, advocating inclusive approaches supported by both regional and international frameworks. In conclusion, I sincerely thank our elder, His Excellency President Museveni, for honoring Kenya with his presence and for his strong and enduring leadership in East Africa. And Kenya remains a dedicated partner and a true friend of the people, government, and Republic of Uganda. I thank you. Let me allow Mzee now to make his remarks. Karibu Mzee.
His Excellency President Ruto and the Honorable Ministers, you have covered the whole spectrum of what we discussed. But what I want to emphasize are 2 points. Point number one is kuamuka. Inaonekana tumeanza kuamuka kutoka kwenye usingizi. Because the big problem of Africa is that from Uganda, prayer book, what you call the Anglicans. There's a statement very strong in our local languages. The Mareka Reva Sunday Okola, the Sunday Okola, they left and done what they ought to have done, and they did that they ought not have done, and there's no truth in them. I don't know where they got it in the Bible, but it is in the prayer book.
It's in the Bible.
In the Bible also, the bishop has told you. Now, this is really the big problem of Africa. And you young people, when I see people doing all sorts of things, arguing and so on, I wait to hear for the content. What are they arguing about? When they are talking about small things. But the big thing is modern economies are built on production of goods and services. The more goods and services you produce, especially industrially and agriculture and so on, the wealthier you are. But when you produce goods and services, the next question is, who buys what you produce? So the issue of the producers and the consumers is at the center of a modern economy. So therefore, when you see people, leaders, whatever they are, just talking about all other things, this one, why are you not talking about the market? Nani atanunua bidhaa zako? If you don't answer that and you say you are a leader, then there are serious issues. So therefore, here I can see that we are waking up to talk about the market of East Africa, the market of Africa. Because if we don't do that, the future is very bleak. You can see two continents. Nguo ya hii kitu imetoka. Nguo yake. Iko hapa. Nguo yake. You can see two areas. The United States of America and Latin America. In terms of natural resources, Latin America may have more resources than USA. Latin America, big rivers, the Amazon, forests, madini, minerals, agriculture, everything is there in Latin America. Yes, USA has, but not as much as I have got that feeling that Latin America may have more natural resources than the USA. So the question then is, why is USA prosperous and Latin America in misery? You see those people walking on foot from Latin America going to heaven, United States. Wanafikiri America, USA ndio binguni, wamesahau kwamba God ndio yuko binguni. They are now going to the USA because it's their salvation. Why? I think the difference is in the organization. When those people formed the nucleus of the United States by uniting the 13 colonies of the British, they are the ones who started the core of that prosperity. USA has expanded, has got a big market. So, ukiwa mfanya biashara, unaanzisha biashara yako in the USA, things are easy. You've got a big market of 300 million people. You can sell from New York to California. The whole space is one market. But in Latin America, El Salvador, small thing here. Honduras, small thing here. Nicaragua, Panama, I don't know, you can't even count them. Rich in countries, rich in presidents, but poor in everything else. So really, you, the East Africans, you should. I'm glad we are working up on this issue. So this is number one. Now number two is the rationalization, because you can see. The other day I was having a meeting with somebody from, I think he's from Nairobi, but he's a Chinese working for the international systems. I think World Bank or something like that, based here. And he was reminding me that countries in Southeast Asia, big and small, Vietnam, China, Indonesia, Cambodia, all of them have got access to the sea. Wako karibu na bahari. Here, where the continent is fragmented economically, you have got countries like Uganda, Republic of Uganda, has no access to the ocean. South Sudan, Rwanda, Burundi, Central African Republic, Chad, I think Chad also, even Ethiopia, that big country, no access to the sea. So, and people are not working to solve that. They are content. President, minister, what are you ministering? You are not solving the issue of market. You are not solving the problem of access to the ocean. How would you develop? How? Exactly how? And instead you are talking about small things, who will be president, whoever is president, you will face those problems. So therefore, I'm very happy to be here and discuss with His Excellency all these issues, because that's what we are discussing. How can you have the sitting room in another country, the bedroom in another country, the kitchen in another country? What sort of arrangement is this? They have invited me to talk to the National Defense College tomorrow. I will talk more about this issue of waking up, kuamuka, and rationalization. Kufanya mambo ambayo yuko na akili, sio kufanya mambo bila akili. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. I'm the one who applied to say, Your Excellency, I want to come and see you. So he allowed me to say, you come. I'm very, very happy to be here. And I'm glad now we have settled with my Suba relative who have signed the document. Where is the Suba man? Aritoka. That little fishing with our Suba people. At Migingo. Asante sana.
Your Excellencies, for the joint press statement. And that brings us to...
Sorry, Mzee, I did allow the Minister for Finance to go and attend to your good friend from Migingo. And also my Deputy President had to attend to something else. But just to confirm again that The one item that I forgot that is important in line with what Mzee has said in what we produce is that we have agreed with President Museveni that I will be going to Uganda in October or maybe latest November for the groundbreaking ceremony of the largest steel factory in our region, in Tororo. That is a joint project between Kenya and Uganda. Kenyan investors, Ugandan resources. It's a joint project that is going to reduce our imports of steel into our region and use the resources that we have, not just to produce steel for our construction industry and all the other industries, but also to export that steel into our region and into the rest of the world. And again, I want, on behalf of the government and people of Kenya and investors from Kenya, President Museveni, to thank you for your leadership, your support, your goodwill, and that of your government in facilitating this joint investment that is going to be in Tororo. And just to make a small correction, that I am not a bishop, but I have made a commitment that when I am done with being president, I will be an evangelist. I know that you have a serious